In this video, we're gonna do more indefinite integrals, but the questions that you are going to see here are more commonly tested by Cambridge, or at least that was the case when I was doing the Cambridge syllabus. So basically, when you have, and sometimes you're gonna see this in your exams, but you are going to see a question in part A, and then you're going to see a sort of difficult question in part B, but it starts with the word hence. Now, what does hence mean? Well, they're expecting you to use the result from part A. That is what it means. And for Cambridge, usually the answer that you get for part A will be used for part B. That is something you want to remember. These questions are not independent. They're asking you to remember the result and probably use it here. All right, with that in mind, question 1A says, differentiate with respect to x. So find d by dx of the equation x squared plus 2 to the power 4. So now use the power rule, right? You bring 4 forward. So we have learned how to do this. 4 forward, x squared plus 2. You reduce the power by 1, but ani x tega made, so you have to differentiate it again. And if you differentiate this part, you are going to get 2x. And if you simplify everything, you put everything together, you get 8x x squared plus 2 cubed. That is the solution to part A. Part B says, hence, find the integral of x, and then you have x squared plus 2 to the power 3 dx. If it says hence, you have to use the result from part A. If it says hence or otherwise, you can use another method. And there is another method here actually called U substitution, but we won't discuss this for grade 11. We will discuss this probably for grade 12. All right, so we have this question. Now remember, integration and differentiation are reverse processes. If I differentiated this, I got this result. So if I integrate 8x x squared plus 2 cubed, I know what the result is. With respect to dx, that is going to be this expression. It's going to be x squared plus 2 to the power 4 plus c. Now, the question does not ask me to find the integration of, so I can factor out 8 here, right? And I can write it as this. So the question, part B just asks me to find this. And if I want to find this, I just need to divide by 8. I need to take this 8 and I need to divide it on both sides. So that is it. That is how we are going to use the information obtained in part A. It's very, very straightforward. It's going to be 1 over 8 if you divide by 8 on both sides. X squared plus 2 to the power 4 plus c. C divided by 8 is going to be another constant. Let's just call it c. So you can give it another name, call it c1, but it's fine. It's just a constant. So your answer is 1 over 8 x squared plus 2 to the power 4 plus c. And that is it. That is how Cambridge is expecting you to use. You can use a method called U substitution. So what is that method? That is called the changing of variable. So you take whatever, if I differentiate this, I'm going to get 2x. And I can create a 2x here, right? So I can multiply by 2 and I divide by 2. So this 2 here cancels out. And now I have a function and its derivative. So if I do u is equal to x squared plus 2, and if I find du by dx, so if I differentiate u with respect to x, I get 2x. And du is going to be 2x times dx, right? If I multiply by dx on both sides. So I have half integration of x squared plus 2 was what? Was my u cubed. 2x dx was my du, right? So half, now I know how to integrate this. It's u to the power 4 by 4 plus c, right? I know how to, this is just a dummy variable. I can change u to x now, again, because it's just another variable. The rules that were working for u to the x to the power n dx also will work for u to the power n du. It's just a variable. So your final answer is 1 over 8 u to the power 4 plus c. And what is u? Well, u is just x squared plus 2. So this is the otherwise method. This is the substitution method, but we won't discuss this year, at least for grade 11. So there are, because the question just says, hence, you're expected to use this result from part A. All right, I hope that was clear. If it was not, we're going to do more questions. So question 2 says, differentiate this with respect to x. So just find d by dx of 2x minus 5 to the power, 2x squared minus 1 to the power of 5. All right, so you bring 5 to the front. You have 2x squared minus 1 to the power of 4, but ani x tega made, so you have to differentiate it again. And when you differentiate this, you are going to get 4x. And if you put everything together, you're going to get the expression 20x, 2x squared minus 1 to the power 4. And now you know that integrating this expression will give you this expression, right? If you integrate this, you are going to get this. If you integrate your result after differentiating, you should get the function that you started with, right? So if you integrate your answer after you differentiate, you should get the function that you started with. And do not forget plus c. All right, so now, hence find this expression. And I have that expression here. It's just multiplied by 20, right? So I can factor this 20 out of the integration sign. And I can divide by 20 on both sides. And if I divide by 20, my final answer is going to look like this. And that is it. So I'm done with question 2. And question 3 is similar. All right. Sorry, let me highlight the answer very quickly for you. But okay, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to erase it now. All right. Question 3, very, very similar. Y is equal to 1 over x squared minus 5. Show that dy by dx is something. So just differentiate this, right? That is what the question is asking me to do. So I can write it as x squared minus 5 to the power negative 1. All right. So dy by dx is just going to be bring negative 1 to the front. X squared minus 5. You decrease your power by 1, right? Negative 1 minus 1 is going to be negative 2. But ani x tega made, so you have to differentiate it again. And when you simplify, when you differentiate this, you're going to get 2x. And your final solution is going to look something like this. Something like this, minus 2 times x. I'm giving this negative sign to the 2 here, because it says state the value of k. So k is equal to negative 2, right? And it says, hence, find this expression. All right. So I know that if I integrate negative 2x divided by x squared minus 5 dx, that is going to be the function that I started with, right? 1 over x squared minus 5 plus c. All right. I know this expression. Now let me work with this. And if you think about it, if I multiply just by a negative 2 on both sides, so negative 2 on the right hand side, c times negative 2 is still a constant, so I'm just going to write c. So I get this expression. And negative 2 times negative 2x, that is going to give me 4x. That is exactly what I was looking for. So that is why I multiply by negative 2. You can factor out, you can figure out what x integral of x over x squared minus 5 dx is, and then you can multiply again. That is also valid, but this is much quicker for me. So your final solution is this. And we are done. So another way would have been to factor out this negative 2 And then you divide by -2 on both sides. So you get -2 in the denominator, multiplying this whole thing. And now because you want to find for 4x, you have to multiply by 4. And 4 divided by -2, that is still going to give you -2. So that is another way to do the question. But whichever method you prefer. And we are done with question 3. Question 4. Now it's getting repetitive, right? I think you're now used to the questions. So differentiate, I believe that's 1. Let me just cross-check. It is 1. All right. So we are asked to differentiate d by dx. 1 over 4 minus 3x squared. 4 minus 3x squared with respect to dx. All right. So that is just d by dx of 4 minus 3x squared to the power -1. Sorry, we only integrate with respect to dx. So you bring -1 to the front, 4 minus 3x squared to the power -2. Ani x tega, made, so you have to differentiate it again. And when you do so, to the power -2, you are going to get -6x, right? If you differentiate this part, you are going to get -6x. And I encourage you to either watch the videos on differentiation or review, but this is the answer you're going to get. And you get 6x times, if you simplify, 6x times -1, -6x times -1, positive 6x, right? You get this expression, which you can also write as 6x divided by 4 minus 3x squared, right? Like this. So we're done with part A, and it says, find this expression. So if I integrate 6x 4 minus 3x squared dx, I get the expression that I started with, which is this. I get 1 over 4 minus 3x squared plus c. Do not forget plus c. Now, the part B asks me to find for 3x, right, in the numerator, not 6x. So if I factor out a 2, then I get 3x. I get exactly what the question is asking me for. So all I need to do is divide by 2 on both sides. And we are done with the question. And if I divide by 2, I get this expression. And that is it. We are done with the question. And actually, you can distribute 2. That is what the textbook does. So the textbook writes it as this. It's the same thing. So this or this. And I hope you're getting the gist of how to solve the question. So our solution was this was our derivative. If we integrate this, we get this expression that we started with. But because they're asking us for 3x, we know that 2 times 3 will give us 6x, what we have, and we can work from that. So I hope that was clear. All right, so I'm going to erase this. And everything else is very, very similar questions that we're working with here. So 5 just asks A, so I'm going to be very, very quick here. It says differentiate, so find d by dx of x squared minus 3x plus 5 to the power 6, right? All right, and if you differentiate, you get 6 x squared minus 3x plus 5 to the power 5, right? Decrease the power by 1, but ani x tega, made, so you have to differentiate it again. All right, so you get 6 x squared minus 3x plus 5 to the power 5. And if you differentiate this, you get 2x minus 3. And I leave you to do the differentiation on your own. So you have 6 times 2x minus 3 times x squared minus 3x plus 5 to the power 5. That is your final answer. And if you integrate your final answer, you should get the expression that you started with, which is this. You should get x squared minus 3x plus 5 to the power 5. All right. So we know that, sorry, I was away, but we know that if we integrate this expression, we get x squared minus 3x plus 5 to the power, to the power 6. To the power 6 plus c. That is what we know. And the question asks us to find what is 2 times this, right? So if I factor out a 3, then I get 3 times 2 is 6, and I get exactly what the question wants me to find. So I get x squared minus 3x plus 5 to the power 6 plus c, and I just need to divide by 3 on both sides. And if I do so, this is going to be my final answer. All right, so I hope that was clear. So I just need to divide by 3, and if I do so, I get this expression. And that is going to be your answer. 1 over 3 x squared minus 3x plus 5 to the power 6 plus c. All right, we are done with question 5. Question 6 and question 7, you're going to do it in the same way. All right, so question 6, differentiate d by dx of square root of x plus 3 to the power 7. So now, you can do it the long way. So you can write square root of x as x to the power half, but you can also just choose to remember this formula. All right. So if you differentiate, so this formula. So I'll just give you time to copy it down. So if you differentiate, you get 7 square root of x plus 3 to the power 6. But any x dega, made, right? This was not x, this was square root of x plus 3. So you have to differentiate it again. And the derivative of 3 is just 0 because it's a constant. And the derivative of square root of x, we can use this formula. So you get 7 square root of x plus 3 to the power 6. And then when you differentiate this, you're going to get this. And writing everything together, you get this. And if I integrate this expression, right? So this is the answer if you differentiate. And if I integrate this expression, what do I get? Well, I get what we started with, right? I get square root of x plus 3 to the power 7 plus c. Do not forget your constant of integration, right? And what is the question asking me? Well, I just don't have the constants in front, right? They're just asking me to find square root of x plus 3 to the power 6. Okay, sorry, this was 8. So this is going to be 8, and this is going to be 7. I'm so sorry. This is going to be 8 and 7. Everything, nothing else changes. 8 and 2. So instead of 7 over 2, 8 by 2 is going to give me 4. So I will have this expression, right? And this is going to be 7 to the power 7. This is going to be 7. This is going to be 8 plus c. All right, so I've just changed everything. I hope that is clear. You bring 8 to the front, your power is 7, and then you simplify, and you get this expression. And basically, the question asks me to find what happens if you integrate just this part. Well, you just divide by 4, right? Because I know what 4 times the integral is. And if you divide by 4, you are going to get this expression. And that is your answer. It's going to be 1 over 4 square root of x plus 3 to the power 8 plus c. That is it. So fairly simple, but it might be slightly tricky. All right. And, okay, let me erase this. It says differentiate 2x square root of x, so d by dx, minus 1 to the power 5. And now before I differentiate, let me just simplify my term inside the bracket. So I can write it as x to the power 3 over 2 minus 1 to the power 5. If I differentiate, I am going to get 5 times 2x to the power 3 over 2 minus 1 to the power 4 times d by any x dega made. So I need to differentiate it again. All right. So I get 5, 2x to the power 3 over 2 minus 1 to the power 4. If you differentiate this, you are going to get 2 times 3 over 2 times x to the power half. So that is going to be the derivative. If you take the derivative, this is going to cancel out. So my final answer is going to look something like 2 x square root of x minus 1 to the power 4, right? Remember, x to the power 3 over 2 is square root of x times square root of x, right? That is where I started with. And from this part, you are going to get 3 square root of x from here. And if you simplify everything, you are going to get 15 square root of x times 2x square root of x minus 1 to the power 4. That is going to be the derivative. And you know that if you integrate 15 square root of x to x square root of x minus 1 to the power 4 with respect to dx, you are going to get the function that you started with, which was 2x square root of x minus 1 to the power 5 plus c. All right, and what is the question asking us? Well, there's just 3 here. We have 15, right? So let's factor out a 5. And if I factor out a 5, I'm going to get 3 square root of x, 2x square root of x minus 1 to the power 4 dx, 2x square root of x minus 1 to the power 5 plus c. And I just need to divide by 5 on both sides. And my final answer is going to look something like this. C divided by 5 is still a constant. And that is it. We are done with this topic.